Tubular.
All right, gentlemen. Tyler, you want to get us started there?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, action.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Humble Pie Podcast, Episode 3. Today we are looking at the Atlanta Hawks at Boston Celtics, Game 7, 1988 Eastern Conference Semifinals. Last week we looked at the Houston Rockets at Lakers. We were all done. We were Lakered out, it seemed like, so we decided it was my choice. I decided to go Eastern Conference. Tyler, were you at least happy with at least a different conference?
I was happy with new teams. Conference. Yeah. Don't matter. What a game. Great game.
Casey, what did you think?
I thought it was kind of cool just to watch like the old guys, just seeing them run out there. And this is a different brand of basketball, but it was pretty up-paced though. Actually, I don't remember them being that fast. Not that pace of play. I was kind of surprised to be honest, but yeah, I was just happy. I was like, oh, finally, don't have to see the Lakers.
They did talk about them a lot. We'll talk about that later with the announcer's bias towards the Celtics a little bit. So the reason I decided to pick the game I was thinking is kind of case what you talked about a little bit is I was thinking that I thought it would just be interesting to see like a team in the 80s that was kind of known as like an individual team. So going back and looking at some of these old articles is like that's what the Hawks kind of were like, perceived as. It's kind of like an individual team. I was trying to compare them to maybe a team of nowadays, and I couldn't really come up with one where maybe that's what I was thinking, but I was just like the only thing was like they didn't really play like Houston. They kind of did, but like
not at all. But I feel like the perception was pretty similar.
It kind of reminded me actually of the Denver Nuggets when they had Carmelo in the playoffs. They just fed one guy, and then everyone else kind of like just rebounded, and Andre Miller was Whitman, just hit mid-range jumpers.
I think the other reason – I think I've seen this game probably like 4 or 5 times before. And I watched it probably 3 more times this week just to watch it again. And I just kind of forget some of the things about it. And the reason I kind of wanted to watch it is to kind of get your guys' opinion on it though too, is because I kind of have a appreciation for this game. So I'm kind of curious to see what you guys think about it as we go through it. All right, let's get this thing started a little bit. So first off, I don't know what version you got of the game, but when I got it, it was already 2-2 basically. That's what the score seemed like.
Yeah, I got the same thing.
Okay,
yeah.
So
I think Nate had the first bucket there.
And then Danny Ainge hit some crazy runner.
They hit 2 bankers in a row, and I wanted to note early, it's only 4-4, but that Dominique Banker shot is a theme of the game, basically. He hits those, like, routinely throughout the game. Very impressive on those. You don't see very many players do that shot very often.
Felt like he was playing in the front yard of, like, a basketball hoop where you could just slam it as hard as you wanted and it would just go in.
Yeah, it was just I think that was the thing I was excited about watching this game was to kind of see him again. What were you guys thinking? I was curious because –
hold on. Talking about the backboard and the hoop in general. You guys notice how loud the rims were? Like when it'd be like a
Did you think they were almost?
I don't know if it was less forgiving or more forgiving, or like it just was.
I feel like it was almost louder. Have you ever heard the Mavericks rims?
No, I mean I probably have, but I can't like pinpoint.
The Mavericks have like an echo sound too, but I didn't hear it quite the same, but. Yeah, I did hear it was a little bit. I did hear that a little bit for sure. Case, did you hear that?
Yeah, no, I thought the rims were super friendly.
For Larry?
No, just like everybody. It felt like there's a lot of like it hit the front rim and just like die and then roll over. I don't know if they shot like the backspin more or softer touch, but it just seemed like every time someone shot it, you at least had a chance of going in.
There was like a cylinder.
Hey, would you say those guys err? I mean, I know we're kind of getting off on a little tangent here, but I think it's kind of interesting to talk about is I kind of think some of those older guys get kind of a bad rap, though, sort of now about like, oh, they wouldn't be able to shoot now. Well, it's like, well, of course, if they just didn't know anything about the 3-point advantage, they would. But I feel like they would just adapt. And like some of these guys that are taking deep twos would probably be pretty good 3-point shooters as well.
Well, they'd be coached differently, like from AAU to.
Yeah.
It's a whole different upbringing where.
So sometimes
I think LeBron gets a bad rap as being friendly with it. I think his whole mindset would be different if he played earlier, where he might not have the same, like, oh, let me be friends with everybody and not like.
Because the argument, like,
Not
yeah, for sure. I was gonna say something, but I'll save it for a little bit later. So the other thing I thought was interesting in the game early too is that the Hawks, they seem to always run these like baseline screens like consistently throughout the whole entire game, and like they
triple
work.
screen.
I mean, Randy Whitman is just having a field day on these screens early.
I was like, I don't think I've ever seen a triple screen set for a mid-range corner shot.
Since the picket fence.
How many screens do you think Larry Bird set for Kevin McHale throughout that game as well? Like,
no, it was just crazy, the screening going on.
I love the double post up McHale and Bird. Would they be like 5 feet apart, be posted up?
It's like,
I was like, man, this is like
Bird's like, I'm not setting a screen this time.
It's kind of crazy even trying to. It's kind of hard like to watch the game in a way now since we're so used to this style. It's like the spacing. You're like, dude, just get Larry Bird ISO'd. What are you doing? All right, so the other thing I thought was funny too is that we noticed the Hawks guards were kind of pressing a little bit early. It seems like that was a theme of the 80s and 90s. Like they were just more pressing, it seems, because I just don't see that anymore in basketball. So as we do this, I'm just curious to see, like next week, Tyler's going to, a little early episode 4, last year, Tyler's going to pick Spurs Pistons, and I'm just curious to see what the ball pressure is like in the backcourt in that game compared to the first couple games we did.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Make sure you tune in.
Yes, we will. I thought it was kind of cool that the Hawks did put Wilkins on Bird. That kind of provided some good matchups.
The announcers also mentioned at the end of the game that Wilkins has had to guard Bird like the whole series, where Bird was guarding like the worst offensive player on the Hawks like throughout the series.
Yeah.
So he seemed a little more fresh, they were saying. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, the best they could. Speaking of the announcers, Casey, we had you asked earlier who they were. We had Brett Musburger doing the play-by-play, and then Tommy Heisman doing the color. He was a former Celtic, so I could kind of feel the bias slightly in there. What did you guys think of the announcers?
I mean, Brent Musburger I dislike a lot, and Tommy was definitely a homer. He has a reputation for being a homer, I guess, but I've never really noticed who he was.
It's hard to believe Brett Musburger's still doing like games, like even Raider games and stuff like that.
I felt like he was a little. He had some bigotry going on there, and a little bit different. I mean, I don't know. I'm not quite sure what year he was born in, but it felt like some of the cheap shots calling Spud Webb a leprechaun was pretty inappropriate. That's just my opinion.
He probably didn't mean it, though.
I am a short guy myself, too, so I would like be called a freaking leprechaun.
You took it very personally or so.
He took it very personally.
Well, then he said one other slight to him.
Spud Webb.
He said one other slight to him when he's like, Mike Fratello has to bend over to basically get to his stature, pretty much to talk to him on the bench. I was like, well, that's another shot.
I don't think Mike's very big either, though.
Hey, do you think some of
that's exactly why it's even more rude?
They wouldn't be able to say that stuff now, huh? They'd be like lit up on Twitter.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? An old white guy saying that about a young black man, like in the NBA, like that is totally.
Like he called him a monkey or like.
And then Mike Fratello, remember before we. Oh, that's funny.
Leprechauns are notoriously white, like.
I meant the stature and size. It had nothing to do with the color. It was just the height. Like, so I've never seen a 7-foot leprechaun.
I mean, yeah.
So,
well, yeah, it absolutely had to do with his height. I will.
All right, let me get us back on the game here. So I'll get us back to the point here where there's like a wild sequence that happens about mid-first quarter. Hawks turn it over. Celtics block it. Hawks go down. McHale blocks it. They throw it deep. Parrish gets a nice and one dunk that puts them on top 18-16. The other thing that I thought was interesting about the first quarter before we move on to the second quarter was I thought Doc Rivers, he surprised me. He was way better than I thought he would be. I don't know. I just thought he played well.
I wasn't that. I mean, he was okay. He was
better than maybe I thought he was gonna be. Maybe that's what my perception was. Is like I didn't think he was gonna be as good. But I know what I thought was interesting. I'm interested to get your guys' point before I move on to the second quarter. Is
Hold on, before leaving Doc, who do you think is better, him or his son?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Hold on. I'm going to ask you, do you think Doc reminds you of – they kind of play similar, I thought.
They do, but different eras, but similar in the way they –
They're kind of both a little out of control at times. They both
play a
kind of
little
take
herky-jerky.
They both try to go a little one-on-one.
and their whole game is scoring the ball.
Exactly. And but he just does it from a little bit more in because the 3-point shot wasn't looked upon.
Yeah, but
same.
when you look at the stats at the end, you're like, Doc Rivers had 18 assists. It's like, what?
I know for sure.
Did he really?
Yeah. I was like, dude, I would never guess that.
I didn't even note it. I can't even pick 2 assists out of the whole game.
Well, Dominique got almost all the shots.
I wonder if they were a little more lenient on assists back then.
Yeah, he had
a
8
couple dribbles.
He was 7 for 17 in the game, 0 for 3 on threes. He got 5 rebounds, 18 assists, 2 steals, 16 points, and fouled out at the end there.
I mean, that's an unreal game, but I thought he would play that.
Hey, I wanted to go back before let's finish out the first quarter here, then I'll go back to the point here. So the first quarter finishes out 30-25 or 30-28. Hawks are winning. I like how Musburger at the end of that goes, the Celtics are in horrible shape. Basically, I'm like, it's a 2-point game. I'm like, what are you talking about?
There was the Homer bias towards the Celtics, but they were saying in the first half, the Hawks look much better than this.
Yeah, they did. What do you think of the doubling in this game compared to the last game we watched?
It was slow. It was really slow.
Well, what I mean by the doubling is
they almost wanted people to take mid-range wide open shots.
I think the game was even more. It was even less 3-pointer even then, so you could see that the doubles were different. Their spacing was so even closer that the doubling wasn't even necessary at times. But I thought their announcers did point out a good job. I thought on one where Rivers doubles on a Bird curl, and that kind of made. And they were giving him trouble. Bird only was 2 for 7 in that first quarter. And he didn't really play that well. He was still getting shots though, so good shots.
I felt like his back was still warming up. He was
he did have a bad back, and he was towards the end of his career. I think that's the last time they did anything really.
Yeah, no, it seemed like he was just getting his legs under him. He's like, I just got to get warmed up.
So one more first quarter.
I'll save my thoughts for Bird later.
Okay, one more first quarter note here as Whitman ended up with 11 points in that first quarter. He does end up with 22 overall and 11 for 13 shooting. So to start the second quarter here, Spud Webb, he plays to start, but he doesn't play too much after this. I don't even think he gets back in the game.
Did he start?
No, he didn't start.
I thought he said he played to start.
He started the second
I looked that up. He ended up actually only playing 6 minutes in that game.
Yeah, I think he only played that second part of that second quarter, I feel like.
I remember him breaking a couple of jumpers and making the good play on where he's a cornerback, and that's about all I remember of him.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. And
where you remember me at Casey.
It was kind of cool, I thought, going back, because you hear about the legend of Spud Webb dunking, you know what I mean, in the dunk contest and stuff like that, and it's nothing that impressive, really. So
Nate Robinson.
It was kind of cool to see him at least make an athletic play to where I can say, okay, that's probably what he brought to the table a little bit. You know what I mean? Like you said, probably Nate Robinson's probably a pretty good comp. I mean, not as athletic, but probably a good comp there. The Hawks are definitely leaving DJ alone, letting him shoot jumpers. It's kind of it kind of reminded me of a Rondo type strategy, basically. Just kind of leave him open. We're gonna just kind of dare him to beat him. He seems a little bit better, but he looked old in this game.
Here's a question: if that's the strategy, that means he's not a great shooter, right? Throughout his career, I imagine. I don't I'm gonna sound ignorant, but that's what I got out of it.
Yeah.
Is there any way he's a Hall of Famer if he doesn't play on those Celtics teams?
Dennis. Well, he did win a championship with the Sonics before that.
Oh, before he even came to the Celtics?
Yeah, on the team with what's the coach there?
Nate McMillan.
No. Lenny Wilkins. Lenny Wilkins when he coached the Sonics.
I had to throw
Who was on that team? They had a big white guy. I know that.
And no, they had another guard too. I'll have to look it up here.
Did Sonics have a championship?
Yes, 1979. He was a pretty good player. Have you guys ever watched the 1984 Game 4 game when they played the Lakers in the
So you think he'd be a Hall of Famer without?
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he's pretty good. I'm not saying he's a Hall of Famer if he didn't play on the Celtics. You're probably right about that. I would agree with that. Yeah, he was on the team for sure. 1979 Celtics. Let's see who's on the team.
Look at Darren dropping knowledge.
That's what he's the moderator for.
Oh yeah, let's see if I'm recognizing a name here. Gus Williams. I feel like that's a pretty good player.
There's a big white guy like Cages or
Gus Williams, I believe, was a good player. I know you guys don't
trust in Gus.
All right, Gus Williams, Wally Walker, Dick Snyder, Paul Silas. He was good. Jack Sikma.
Paul.
That's the guy.
Yeah, he's a white guy.
He's their best player.
Lottie Shelton, and then you got Dennis Johnson, and then they had downtown Freddie Brown from
Pacific
Iowa.
Northwest was really doing things back then.
I'm pretty sure Gus Williams is a pretty good player. I don't know for sure. But the legend has it in my mind. Gus, if you're out there listening, you're popular in this show.
Gus Johnson's a hell of an announcer.
Well, Gus, I remember, is from Recess.
Gus, almighty Gus.
So before we get to the second quarter, I wanted to point out that before this and to set up the series up a little bit, I kind of forgot. The Hawks won the first two games. Okay, so they were up 2-0 at home. And then excuse me, Boston wins the first two games at home, 110-101 the first game, then 108-97, and then Atlanta wins 3 in a row. Game 5 in Boston. And then Boston wins.
Boston was like 3-0?
No,
Boston was up 2-0. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, and then Boston won in Game 6 in Atlanta.
Yes, 102-100. In that game, I wanted to just when we were talking about Rivers, Wilkins had 35, Rivers had 32. So he did play pretty well in the series as well. All right, so we get to the second quarter. Bird gets to the free throw line immediately when Wilkins is out. They put Wilkins like immediately back in, which was probably a good decision. Dominique gets back in. He hits a banker, makes it 36-30 Hawks. The Hawks are still kind of controlling the game, but it just feels like the Celtics are kind of just waiting to get going a little bit. I also wanted to see if you guys caught the point later in the game where they brought up Larry Bird guaranteeing the Game 7 win.
They brought it up a couple times.
Yeah, what did you guys make of that?
It sounds like Larry Bird.
I mean, okay, do you want to hear the quote?
I'm sure it's really –
so if a player says this today, I want you to think about how much pressure would be on them. Listen, they might as well forget it. They've got no chance. They had a chance to beat us, and we all knew if we lost, it meant vacation tomorrow.
He'd get ridiculed more for that, the vacation part. Because I remember Jason Williams, the white point guard, not the Duke player, but the kid, after he lost the Grizzlies series, he said something like, well, it just means I'm going on vacation now. And he got ripped. Like, the fans were all mad that they cared more than the players, supposedly. And
is that crazy, though?
I think a lot of that has to do with the legend of Larry. Like, he was, like, a lot of people said he was, like,
I want to be honest, I miss that
kind of like
part about NBA right now. Like, I do, like, kind of that stuff, like, when they say, like, players are handshaking. Like, it doesn't, like, piss me off or bother me to where I'm like, oh, my gosh. But I do wish they didn't like each other a little bit more. Even watching a game like this, like, yeah, you can tell they don't, like, hate each other. But, like, you can tell they're not, like, best friends either. Like, you know
I think Larry Jordan.
Like, this is a pretty physical game.
I think Larry Bird was Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan. Like, in that aspect of, like, he didn't talk to people. He didn't like people. The only, like, he never – like, he was pretty freaking arrogant and cocky.
After looking at this Jack Sikma picture, that's no.
Have you? There's a story like him and Magic became like best friends. Obviously, like in '92, Larry was already retired, I think, and he played for the Dream Team.
Yeah.
And they're just talking, and him and Magic's like, "I'm going out the front. Let's go." He goes, "I'm not going out the front." And Magic's like, "What? Like this is the best part of like this is the best part. I get all this adulation." And Larry's like, "I don't want to see anybody. I'm going to the side. I don't."
Yeah, he just
I don't
wants
want
to
to
get
deal
it.
with these people.
He just wants to move on.
Play basketball. That's all he cared about.
I just thought it was interesting, that guarantee and how how it would be taken today for sure. Probably a little differently.
God, if LeBron said that, he would get ripped.
Yeah, he would.
Oh God.
So I'm noticing they're allowing, the refs are just allowing a lot more holding, which is great for a Game 7. I like how the players aren't complaining too bad. They are a little bit, but not as much as they would now.
Not nearly.
Not as much as they would nowadays at all. And I love some of the ref reactions too. Like, I don't know if you guys caught this one. Like, it's like in the third quarter, the guy makes the shot. I think it's like Willis, and the ref, like, you think he's doing an and one, but he goes like, yes, like he almost slams it down like he's doing an and one. I just thought it was funny that.
I love how fast they get the ball in.
Yeah, man, they get the ball up the court quick in the 80s. Like, that's the one thing I like.
The refs, they just hand them the ball. They're like, all right, the guy's complaining. All right, that's your fault. Get back on defense.
There's a little point.
It's like Silver Fox.
Oh, God. Yeah, unless there was a different team, then he'd make us wait all day.
Oh, yeah, you would. All right, so Rivers, we're at a point here where Rivers makes a nice driving layup. He kind of attacks the hoop. It curls in on his left shoulder, makes it. That's what impressed me about him. He really attacked the hoop. I think that's what kind of made me think about his son, too, is the way he was able to – he drove better than I thought he was going to. So 42-39, Hawks are winning. McHale and Willis kind of get into it a little bit, going down the court a little bit there. That would definitely be a review double technical nowadays. Willis gets away with nothing now. Which, I don't mind. Again, I don't mind them not replaying some areas. Like, it's, whatever. It's not my team, but I still don't mind the replay. So, the Warriors aren't making the playoffs every year. So, I don't know.
Sponsors and stuff.
Yeah. And then they bring in Reggie Lewis, and he has a good game, I thought, the Celtics. They post him up quite a bit. And he's a sad story. I was looking at his stats, man. He had
I might have missed that part of the game. I don't even know who Reggie Lewis is.
Yeah, so they brought him in mid-second quarter and for scoring, and they immediately kept going to him in the post. And so his career, I wanted to point out his career real quick to you guys because I thought you guys might forgot him. He played from 1987 to 1993. He died of a heart attack, and he had a bad heartbeat. And then a little bit later, he went in to get doctor approval. No, it wasn't found anything like this. But listen to his stats. This is what I wanted to surprise you with. So first year he gets 4.5 points.
Wait for the Celtics the whole time?
Yes, 87. So 4.5 points. Not that impressive. But after that year, 18.5, 17, 18.7, 20.8, 20.8. So he has a good career. He died at 27, so he averaged 17 points a game. So he's having a good career, and I think they had Len Bias coming in at that point too. So they had a few guys. The Celtics had a few tragedies there for a few years there. But I just wanted to point him out for our Celtics listeners that we didn't want to forget Reggie Lewis there.
I've never even heard of the guy.
I kind of when I saw
to openly admit that's probably dumb, but.
Yeah, but I thought he played a pretty sneaky good game in here.
Was this his second year in the league?
Was that his second year in the league? No, he was drafted in 87. So, yeah, that was his second year. So, that year he averaged
17 or something.
18.5 points.
So, that's pretty good. Part of that team.
He started 57 of the 81 games. He averaged 32 minutes. So,
see, that's what I wanted to touch on a little bit. I was going to say is I didn't realize that 4 Celtics played 43 minutes or more. And then the bench, they had a total of 110 points as starters, and their bench had 8. And Lewis had 4 or 6.
Yeah, they only played Lewis 6 minutes. They played Dennis Johnson 36, McHale 43, Parrish 45, Ainge 47, Bird 47.
Dennis Johnson was the starter, correct?
Yeah.
Lewis
Yeah.
was averaging 17 points a game, and they gave him 6 minutes.
That's what they did. Probably because it's a game 7, and these old guys were like, "Hey, he can have his
Who was
time
the coach?
here."
Casey Jones?
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Who are they going to take out? Ainge?
No, that's what I mean. They played Danny Ainge, Robert Parrish, and Kevin McHale and Larry Bird all 43 minutes or more.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. So
Those are like 3 best players. You can't.
4.
Yeah. Yeah, I know for sure. So Lewis gets that post game. McHale gets an offensive rebound putback. They're up 42-41 with 5:40 left. They sneak ahead. Whitman makes another shot. They go up 43-42. Bird then hits kind of one of those typical kind of cool Bird shots. I thought it was kind of funny to see a little bit behind the backboard there. I don't know if you guys caught that one. Like he kind of it was kind of a little angle, just kind of like you kind of know he's gonna make it too. Just kind of like.
That's what I mean about the soft rim. I was like,
that's how you just know he's a superstar, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like Curry, like LeBron. Like, there's just certain players you know that shot's going in, and so that was cool to see. I thought the crowd. I wanted to point out the crowd real quick. I thought the crowd was really good.
Salute.
I'm not a huge like Boston fan because they win a lot, but like the one thing I do have to give Boston fans, like at least in this game, and even I do for Red Sox fans, is like they at least are into the game. Like I do appreciate that part of it a lot. Like they're into like the smaller.
They're psychotic outside the game though.
That we are not part of as well. But I do think it just makes the game organic, a different type of organic. It's not pumping in like this fake music, and it's just like it's just better. It's just awesome. I don't know. I liked it.
They showed this cutaway of like their like now it's a big like Megatron, but back then it was just like this little like pixelated thing, and it like said score, and it just reminded me of like an old like Nintendo video game where like you make it back like cuts across and it just says score and yellow lights, but like it's like it's just basketball. It's not. There's no pompous like there's no show except for the game.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You don't have like people dunking off trampolines and.
Yeah, exactly. There's none of this fake stuff. It's like when you don't have that fake stuff, it like you know what I mean. It's the game, so it is a little bit more serious, you know. And so that it does make it a little bit more pure in that way. All right, so
plus you could chew tobacco and probably smoke cigarettes in their arena.
Yes, you probably could. All right, Dominique hits another banker, 53-52, Boston. We'll talk about this guy a little bit more during the game, but Carr hits a turnaround jumper when he's in the game. Carr has a really nice finish that like he hits his first basket, like he kind of goes soaring into the hoop and then does like this nice finger roll finish at the end. And I was like, and they're like Antoine Carr with the finish, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that was Kevin Willis. I gotta go back, and I was like, that was him. That's the same guy that played on the Rockets team that we just
no glasses, no sunglasses.
But he was really good in this game, and like he was actually really athletic. He surprised me with some of his athleticism.
Like 30 pounds lighter.
But that
seemed like he ate himself a little bit in his later years with the Jazz and the Rockets.
Well, Bob Costas said he lifted weights, so we're gonna go. And the version we watched, Bob just said he lifted weights. What'd you guys think of the Hawks?
McDoubles.
Hey, what'd you guys? Before we get to the halftime here,
wanted to be like Mike.
What'd you guys think? I kind of feel like the Hawks were kind of onto something. Like they kind of were like the start of kind of a modern offense. It felt like where they did have the guy go. They ran more pick and roll than I've seen. Like they ran a decent amount of pick and roll, and they did ISO a decent amount, and they did like try to set stuff up for shooters. I don't know. I mean, they did post up a lot still, but I mean, they did do some stuff that I wasn't expecting.
I feel like they depended on athleticism a little
bit more.
Teams back then.
Yeah, they were pretty youthful compared to the Celtics. You could tell. Although, I have to say, man, I'd never really watched him play, and I've heard my dad say he's really good. Kevin McHale is a freaking beast, dude.
Yeah, he was good.
I agree. I was going to get to him. All these superstars I'm gonna
Yeah,
get
we'll get. I think at the end I got some questions for you guys. Then we can really touch on more. But keep touching it up when you got to. Third quarter here. Before we get to the third quarter here, there's a couple guys that did want to point out. We probably won't talk about too much either. That were they played pretty critical roles, not in necessarily this game, but games leading up to it. He's got the best name in the game, Tree Rollins.
I've heard the name before.
2,500 blocks. What a career. That's surprising.
How many years?
Huh?
30, 25.
My gosh. He plays.
His name's Trees, not a tree.
He looked like a tree.
He played 13, 15. He played 18 seasons.
Yeah, okay, so he probably spanned 3 decades.
Yeah, he never averaged 10 points in a game. And he never averaged 10 rebounds total in a game. So
how many blocks did Donald Foyle have?
Too many. Too many not important blocks to matter. That's what we're gonna go. All right,
the Donald's a story for another day.
Donald's we could save one for a Donald another day when we do the Jameson Kobe 50 game on each other.
The back to back.
Yeah, then he
Exactly.
goes 50 again.
All right, so they get a steal here at the end.
Come on, baby.
DJ gets a steal here at the end at half, and or not the half. Bird gets a steal, or was it a steal at the end of the half? I forgot. I forget.
The
Did
one
Bird get a
against
steal?
Doc Rivers.
That was that third quarter, huh?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
wrong one.
I feel like Bird got one before half a basket there late, and so they had the lead going into halftime.
They
There
still
was
won
no
against-
buzzer beater to go into the second quarter.
I was
going to
thinking
the third quarter.
I was thinking about that with you, Tyler, because I remember last time that was actually a good point on your part that every game we watched.
I mean, I think there was one that wasn't, but I think that was before we even
That was
recorded.
that was pretty crazy that was the case. All right, so we're moving to the third quarter here. Tight game. Celtics are up by 1. DJ,
Where are we at in the game?
We're just starting the third here.
Okay.
So
Celtics were leading at half?
Yes.
Dan, you
By
got to give me
1.
a better view than just your new haircut.
Sorry, Bird. Sorry, Bird got that steal late, so it went up. They went up by 1. So we're starting the third quarter here. Celtics are up by 1. DJ is still missing shots. Hawks are still leaving them open. They're not mixing it up. But they don't really leave them enough, though, I feel like.
Who?
I mean, if they're going to leave them, they don't really leave them. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it was their strategy, but for playing so many minutes, I didn't really feel like he was so obvious either. Like some teams with Rondo, it's shoot the ball, man. Like, but you know what I mean?
But I think part of that too is McHale, dude. Like,
well,
he was
double on
really-
him more. Right?
no,
McHale's
but
a good
they did.
passer, yeah.
He
He's a
was
good player.
crafty though. Like when he did get doubled, he reminded me of
Great post moves.
Yeah, exactly. Really fundamental. Like when he see the double coming, he would almost like fake. Like the defender wouldn't know the double was coming yet, and then he'd fake and go under baseline.
He didn't
That's what
pass
was-
out of it very much, but
Exactly.
he knew how to.
That's what was kind of cool about watching this game back too, was like kind of seeing those it was just interesting to see how like Bird and McHale worked together. Like there was a play early in this third quarter where it looks like they kind of have nothing, and he kind of pump fakes, goes right, and then kind of leans back to the left. But it starts out with McHale's getting fronted, so Bird can't get it to him. So Bird drives basically to set the guy up, and then makes a nice lob pass for a layup. And I'm just like, that's what you get when guys play together for a long time, and they're obviously good players. You know what I mean? Like that's just
high
that kind of.
basketball IQ, and
I just appreciated watching that play. I was just like, man, these guys are good. That was a good play. And McHale they use their body so well.
That's what I mean.
yeah,
Like, remember how we talked about last week about how
it reminded me of myself.
Yes, it did.
Just kidding.
But remember I talked about how people
Humble
don't post up as much in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, like,
Hold on, can I get back to DJ real quick? I think when you said they don't leave him like Rondo,
yeah,
I think he's a little better shooter, and that's why he is a Hall of Famer. But
yeah.
I think they want him to kind of think about it, like, oh, are we gonna kind of come out this time? And okay, no, carry on.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, he does look like he's a little bit more pure shooter than Rondo.
Yeah.
I would say that Rondo's shot's a little A little crook it is.
It's like
But
Casey when he was in second grade.
I'm not the one to talk about shots, what they look like, so I won't go
Cheap
there.
shot.
All right, so Atlanta's up early.
Grade.
So Atlanta's up early, 63-58. Celtics offense is definitely getting better. They're running good stuff. They're not as sloppy. They're figuring out Atlanta's doubles a little bit more. They're going to McHale in different spots. They're definitely running this Parrish to Bird action a ton, where he gets the ball at like the elbow and then he dumps it down and then he runs this like little pick and roll from like 10 feet. It's funny to watch. You just don't see that anymore. Like this little
playing at a park.
It's like this little pick and roll with a 7-foot guy and a 6'8" guy. You like don't even see. It's like, you know what I mean. But like stiffer guys, it'd be like running it with Bogut and David Lee. You just don't.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
It's like,
But you know what I mean. You just don't see that type of like stuff.
that's what I meant. It's like playing in a park. Like it felt like 2-on-2, and everyone else was just like, they're gonna play a 2-on-2 game. And
I mean, you say David Lee and Bowie, but you could say LeBron and Anthony Davis. Like,
yeah, but I just mean like the
athleticism.
The athleticism that went with it, and just but where they're running it from. That's what kind of cracked me up.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. LeBron's
you know
coming
what I mean?
down. Yeah.
Running it from like 10 feet from the hoop. All right, so Casey McHale gets a spin move on a nice double team. Like you said, he gets a double, but he still like is crafty enough to spin baseline and get a nice little finish there. Rivers then makes this. I mean, this is what reminded me of his son the most. He like wastes down the shot clock, backs up, and then takes Parrish off the dribble and takes this crazy fadeaway and somehow swishes it. And he's up six. They're up 67-62. Boston is at that point. Did you guys remember that shot by chance?
yeah,
It's just like
No, I
think
it was like
his
son.
I was like,
It
that's
was
definitely
exactly
his son.
like his son.
I was like, it's definitely his son there.
Right shoulder fade away. Yeah.
And throughout this game, we're not mentioning him enough. We're going to start to mention him a little bit more. Wilkins is he's just getting his points quietly. It seems like, you know what I mean. He's not like getting anything, but he's just like taking advantage of what they're giving him. And he gets a little banker here with 7:31 left. He must have had at least 6 baskets where he was a fast break, and it was like almost fundamentally sound. It's like I almost need to show this clip to my team. It's like point guard makes a pass, you stop a little bit before the block, and you bake it in. Like it was just like unreal. He did this so many times.
And there's a guy who's the most athletic player maybe in the NBA at that time, like next to Jordan, as far as trying to dunk a basketball. And he's not even trying to dunk the ball. He's just like, all right, I'll take easy 2 points off.
Yeah.
Just might not go in the highlights, but still 2 points.
He just like I'll rise above basically, and then shoot and make it. I didn't. Speaking of
I
Dominique,
felt like
real
he
quick,
had 25 points off the backboard.
it felt
Literally,
like that. You're
yeah.
probably right. He probably almost did. Oh, hold on a sec. You got a big old spider. Oh,
Yeah.
shit. Dang it.
Fight it.
Hold on. I gotta kill him.
Come on,
Man
little
up.
animal.
Man up.
Peter.
Peter.
We're going to get canceled.
Where'd he go?
We support the WWF.
Not that wild, whatever that is.
Not supported by Vince.
Hold on, dude.
We want Shane McMahon.
Man, this is going to be on a not top 10 moment right here.
This is-
We got to have
Come on, it's a spider. Let's go.
Man up.
Can I stop recording and kind of look for the spider?
Are you serious?
He disappeared.
Are we being recorded? Are we being recorded?
Huh?
Yeah, it still says recorded in the top right.
Boy, he said we're not going to – I'm going to stop recording. You can get the spider if you want to get the spider.
All right.
You just have a lot to cut now.
Just
let
call
me get
Toby.
Let me
Call
just stop.
Toby.
I don't want to stop recording.
Toby?
Toby
McGuire?
McGuire.
I got it a little late.
Oh, that's funny. I don't know. He just disappeared. He like went right under my beer, and I could like smash him. He like went perfectly.
Oh,
under
he's on the
circle.
back
Well,
of your
the
sweatshirt.
beer has a little thing on the bottom to give a little air.
I know, and that's what gave him a little air.
Oh, you got to be knowledgeable. Where's your beer
Oh.
IQ?
Rookie mistake.
First beer?
I guess so. Apparently. All right. So.
What a
so we're, Thank you. I appreciate that very much. All right, so back to I
A
almost
good
got bit by.
transition after the spider. What a hair.
It just like came literally right across the computer there. How crazy was that?
Casey, what was your first reaction when you saw his haircut?
I didn't even notice.
I'm gonna keep
What?
looking for the spider while you guys talk about that for a
It
second.
was Cinco de Mayo.
If it offends you, we'll stop. I mean, I don't want to hurt
It
your
was
feelings.
Cinco de Mayo. I didn't really think much of it when I saw it, but I was like, and then I was like, oh man, his hair is all gone. I was like, that's weird.
He loves his hair. I've never seen someone love their hair more. I was shocked.
What?
I thought it was you for sure. Because you sometimes will buzz your head.
I was like,
So-
remember when we went golfing when he had his hair on the couch?
And you rode the
Rode the bull.
ball. And you got a
Oh.
thumbs up.
And the old man driving.
Yeah, you got a
Give
thumbs
you-
up from the 50-year-old man. Like the hole before that, Darren dislocates his thumb.
Yeah, that's right. Tyler,
Pop it back
in.
in. Pop it back in. I was like, hell no. Get away from me. I'm not breaking your thumb.
It might have been when Darren was trying to fish with the golf
How,
ball.
how long were you on that couch to get that hair like that?
Probably at least 2 hours.
Fall asleep?
It was like a baby mullet.
I think I wanted it like that, just so when we went golfing, it wasn't sweaty out of the back of my neck.
You wanted your hair like that.
All right, can we get back to the game?
You weren't as active back then as you are now.
That's true, I wasn't. But I still didn't want to sweat with golfing.
That's a good excuse. You came up with something to good job. I respect that.
Thank you. You at least you can say I'm the master of BS then with that.
Is that your nickname, the Bachelor of BS?
That could be my nickname. That could be my little pun here.
That is pretty good.
All right, so back to the game here after this stupid spider came across the desk here. All right, then the DJ guy finally starts hitting some shots actually back to basketball. He actually finally starts hitting like 2 jumpers in a row. I love the swing pass that they make. I don't know why.
I think I blacked out in the third quarter.
I don't know why I liked it, Casey. I won't talk to Tyler. I don't know, Casey, why I liked it. I thought it was funny because Mikhail gets it. He throws it to Ainge like he's like about at the college 3-point line, maybe at best. I think he's inside the college 3-point line. And then he swings it over to Johnson, who nowadays would be in the corner, but he's like 18 feet away, and he makes the shot. It's just kind of funny to see the same type of basketball, but literally about 5 feet let in.
Yeah, everything was super condensed. Everything was just like way condensed. Like there's no one literally probably like 2 feet outside the line.
A 3 is worth more than a 2.
Yeah, but it's a better shot.
I will
I
have
even
it
remember
straight.
when we grew up,
they
we
take
were
way
taught
better
that.
shots now, or they take way better shots back then than they do now.
How
Yeah,
many
but it's
threes?
not percentage-wise because you get more points for 3.
How
I
many
would
threes
say-
do you think the Celtics took?
6.
7, if
Casey?
that. But I blacked out in the third quarter, so I'm gonna.
Casey? How
I
many do you
said
think?
6. I know Ainge for sure made 2.
Yeah, he was
And
2 for 6.
I think
and
Bird made
was,
2.
he was 1 for 3. Yeah, so 3 for 9, and then the Hawks were 1 for 5.
Yeah.
Wilkins moved in there. So
Steph
yeah,
Curry shoots more than the whole teams. Both
I know
teams.
that's just crazy. It's just a whole different game. Could you imagine
Clay's
if the
made more
Warriors
in a
like?
game than they took in a game.
Could you imagine if like the Hawks are like this team right here? They're playing against the 2017 Warriors, right? And they're warming up, and like this is like pretend, right? Where you can't obviously the Hawks know nothing about nowadays basketball or the Celtics, whoever you want to take, and they're warming up, and I see Clay and Curry shooting 30-footers. They probably would look at each other and be like, "What the heck is this?
Why are they messing around before the game? They're not gonna take those.
Why is he taking one dribble and then shooting from half court? Why is he taking? All right.
Yeah.
So Whitman's still making a few shots here too. He made another shot here. Wilkins, I was impressed by Wilkins being so under control as well in this game.
At certain points.
They do a good job here. The Hawks start to make a nice little run, and they double Bird. Bird makes a bad pass to the middle. Whitman makes a nice behind the back pass to Wilkins. It was kind of fun to see Wilkins have a kind of a hard dunk, at least not necessarily a tomahawk, but it was still at least a powerful dunk.
That
It was
kind of caught my eye. It's like nowadays I don't think there's one point guard that would throw that back to them. I think they'd
Maybe.
just finish it, try and get
Maybe.
the points. But I thought it was kind of cool.
What'd you think of the dunk? It's pretty powerful. You know, I thought it was a pretty good dunk for just the way
It was
he did
better
it.
than Kevin Willis's.
Yes, it was. That's for sure. Robert Parrish had a good dunk. I'm loving the physicality of the game by this point. You know, the refs are really letting them play. Like, I mean, like everything off the ball. They're letting them get they're not calling like too many cheapies at all. So I'm really liking that game. I'm liking how the pace of the game is too.
Hold on, we like that in the Game 7. In the regular season, we would not like this type of.
I'm okay with it because it had some pace to it.
Okay, I guess you're right. But the way the game was played in the 90s, where it was holding
and that's kind of one of my things for later on is like, what's the 80s and the one thing I appreciate about the 80s. Well, the one thing I appreciate about the 80s is that they usually still played with pace.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a lack of defense, but whatever. It was still a little bit more entertaining in that regard. The other thing with the Celtics is I felt like they ran like a pin down like 55%.
The Celtics, I felt like Larry Bird set a screen for McHale. McHale could either get through or he couldn't, and if he couldn't, Bird would come back out and post.
Yeah, but then how about the ones – but they would run a lot towards the third and the fourth. They kept running a lot of stuff for Larry to come off the curls at the elbow.
Oh, yeah.
And so he gets a basket there. Atlanta started out interesting enough that quarter 0 for 5, and then the last 4 minutes of the quarter went 9 for 10.
Dominic was trying to force it, though, in the beginning.
A little bit, but
– took the first 2 shots that were not good at all.
Yeah, that's true. I can't remember the second shot that he took there.
It was a mid-range. It wasn't terrible, but I felt like he settled.
So it's 82-82 with 50 seconds left in the third quarter. Dominique after he makes his layup, he has 31 points after the third quarter. At the end of that third quarter, the Hawks Rivers tries to get by DJ. DJ picks him with his left hand, and he's able to methodically make it down there for a layup right before. It literally looks like he's on his last legs as he's going in for that layup and finishing. I don't know him that well, but it just looks like an older version. Like it reminded me of a hurt Baron Davis a lot watching that.
The Celtics version?
Well, just that layup at the end, like an old Baron, when he finishes and doesn't have much left in the tank. You can see like he gave everything he could to get there.
It's like down the stretch they come.
He gave everything he could.
It's Kentucky Derby time.
So what are you guys thinking, like, at this point going into the fourth quarter? Like all right, what are you thinking? Like, this a pretty good game so far, or, game 7? Like, anything specific?
I'm very impressed with the basketball.
Yeah.
I think I take those guys, being that I never got to watch, just underappreciate that era and always thought, like, oh, they're not as athletic or as good as today. And
they are. They're just
as good in a different way. Some guys probably wouldn't make the league anymore, but
how I just gave that example about how the people would look at the Warriors and be like, what was that? Well, like Draymond Green would be like, what the hell is Hakeem Olajuwon doing in the post to me? You know what I mean? Like he would have no chance of stopping.
See, I don't think Draymond could play in that era almost. He's athletic. He'd be
able to play because he can shoot at least from the elbow.
Shoot, he can't shoot from anywhere except
from the elbow. He can kind of make an elbow jumper.
How often does he take an elbow jumper?
Well, the 90s he would.
I guess you're right.
In the playoffs, Draymond.
He could play because he's very good defensively. And
if Anthony Mason and Charles Oakley played,
he had 24 points at half against the Cleveland Cavaliers.
And he was
in Game 7? Are you talking about Game 7? Best game he's ever played of his career.
Okay, did you forget that he was NCAA Player of the Year, too?
I don't care about the NCAA. So is Tyler Hansbrough and a bunch of bums.
My favorite play.
It doesn't mean he's a bum.
Sheldon Williams probably. No, who? Isn't a bum. Hansbrough?
Yeah, he's not a bum. He played at least 10 years in the NBA.
I don't know if he got to 10.
8? Yeah. 5?
He wasn't a bum. He wasn't a bum. Zimmer Fredette is a bum. Yes. Adam Morrison is a bum.
Unless he lives in China, then Fredette is a hero.
Okay,
is
that
actually.
wasn't China.
All right, so
I was gonna say though, my favorite part at the end of the third quarter is when Doc throws a full court shot and hits the guy right in the face.
I like how the guy again. This would not be celebrated now. Our culture
It
is
probably
so
wasn't
like,
back then either. You're
well,
celebrating.
well, they're celebrating it on air a little bit,
Oh,
and the guy's like, this, like, but now he'd probably be like, they'd probably be like, oh, he's in for a concussion protocol. You know, we're doing all the necessaries here. We're gonna send him out to the hospital. We've called his mother. You know, like
I was just
they're
like,
doing it.
man, that's the best not top 10 moment ever. Like Doc Rivers gets the ball stolen, that launches it full court and hits the guy in the face, guys. It's like that is
I was so blacked out. I don't remember this part.
I just like how the announcer drew the arrow though, like going to
yes.
to the head.
I'm like, really? Where else is the ball going?
That's funny. The one thing about the Celtics that they kind of relate to all the good teams. Yeah, I know the Celtics don't win any more championships after this, but they always get a good shot. It seems like against this team, like, you know what I mean. They're not having to get forced to anything. The Hawks aren't able to play good enough defense, or like Bird can get what he wants. McHale can get what he wants on somebody. Parrish can get who he wants on somebody, and like they just don't. They're getting a good shot every time, so it kind of feels like they almost have to blow it in some ways for the Hawks to win this game. That's what it kind of feels like to me. I don't know what you guys felt with that part.
I felt Dominique would have to do something superhuman, which he almost did. Yeah, but
I also wanted to remind you guys that the Colonial Classic was coming up after this game as well. It was the golf tournament. They brought that up a few times. So I just want to remind you about the Colonial Classic.
I think Justin Faldo went on to win that one.
James Brown looked young in that too.
Did you guys catch that actually, Casey? By the way, James Brown is the announcer.
Yeah, that's what I said. He looked young.
The guy that
JB?
does JB. He did the sideline.
Jim Barnett?
No.
Did you watch the game, young man? The guy that does Fox.
James Brown.
He does CBS pregame. And
Oh,
postgame.
I know who James Brown is.
Jim
Yeah.
Barnett.
Jim Barnett. Jim was. That's
I mean,
funny.
Jim Barnett has been referred to as JB.
That's true. He does. All right, so the Hawks are doing a ton of tickets.
Someone blacked out.
You?
That was you in the third quarter.
Happened again.
You see me?
Darren's gone.
I'm right here.
Someone's gone.
Tyler.
Yeah, me. Am I back?
You're back and better than ever.
Call me the Supreme.
All right, so the Hawks are still running a ton of pick and roll here. Along the way here, Carter's starting to get a lot of – he had those 6 points early, but he's still getting a few baskets here or there on putbacks and just a couple, like, surprising plays. He makes a very nice play again. He gets a good offensive, like, rebound, and he puts it back up, and surprisingly has 13 points at this point in the game. And they even mentioned in the game, like, wow, this probably is – you're thinking, like, this is the type of thing that you need to win a Game 7. You know, if you need a car
In
to get
Boston
13.
at that point, too.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I would be thinking if I was a Hawks fan back then. I'm thinking we actually might win this thing. Carr has 13 freaking points, and he's 6 for 7 in the game.
I will give credit to the other announcer.
And Randy
Heisman.
Whitman's 11 for 13.
I'll
Sorry,
give
Case,
credit to the announcer Heisman, though, because he's like, once he checked in, he's like, he can take advantage of Larry Bird because he's the one guarding him.
Yeah, that's true. He did say that.
Heisenberg?
So this is where the game really, I think, is why it's an all-time classic, is it really picks up at this point, like in terms of like the quality of play and like the shot making ability and the execution. Bird just absolutely.
This is what I've been waiting for.
Bird just absolutely catches fire. So Tyler, I'll just say my part. You cut me off whenever you want to butt in on what
Okay,
you want to say. So Bird runs. The first thing, Bird gets a pin down, 88-86. Carr again on a pass to Rivers this time, so they're dumping it down to Carr. He actually makes a legitimate pass to Rivers, which surprises me. Rivers makes the finish. So we're 88-88. Bird again on another curl, just a little bit just a little bit farther out this time. Now they're up 80. They're up by 2 again. Casey, you
And
kind
Bird
of
was pretty average to this point throughout the game. Like,
He wasn't like.
And he talked all that poop before. Oh, we're guaranteed they don't have a chance.
Yeah, he was
And
pretty.
this is how he responds when it matters. So
Bird had 14. Bird had 14 to start that fourth quarter.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's average for like Larry Bird, like for someone who says, "Oh, they don't have a chance."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he might be on his last leg, but he's not thinking that. So yeah, exactly. So he gets that nice curl route, or nice basically curl again. He makes the shot. Casey, you brought up the Celtic spacing. There's like one play they still score on it because Larry Bird gets that and one kind of going to the middle. Remember he banks
the
it
best
in.
shot of the most creative shot.
Yeah, he just throws it up there. And
Only
those are
Larry Bird.
that's what I mean. Those are the type of shots like him, Curry, like the certain finesse players that just are the only ones that could make those type of like kind of just like.
You remember what Brett Musburger said after?
What'd he say?
He goes, "Well, Larry doesn't have to worry about falling because he doesn't jump very high."
I did it, but that's good.
So he could keep his eyes on the backboard or something.
That's funny. That's good. It makes sense though if that's what he actually did. Probably not though. I don't think so. But on that play, the spacing was so bad. Like I remember, like they were trying to do a post up, and Parrish was like at the elbow. Bird was like a little bit outside the block, and there was another guy trying to pass from like short corner, and I was like, "How is that going to work?" And they somehow just get it to him. And
There was like three players on the same right side, like inside the 2-point line. I was like, "Hey, I'll post that. No, I'll post that. No, I want to post that."
It made no sense what they were doing.
I can't hear you, Casey.
Well, then turn up your earphones.
I mean, I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying I couldn't hear.
No, I'm kidding. I was saying like there's three guys like all on the right side trying to post up like within the 2-point line. I was like, I don't know how this is gonna work, but then that's what Larry got it as. I was like, Mikhail's like, give me the damn ball. Johnson's like, I can't. You guys are both posting up at the same damn spot.
Get away from me.
All right, so Dominic then hits a 93-90 Hawks, and
That
then
was from
Bird.
the left side of the.
Yeah, that's the only three made in the game there. He just kind of like.
I thought that's the one that tied it up at 93 all.
No, that was or was that the one? Because I got okay.
Because I thought Bird made it a 3-point game with that and one, and then
you're right, Casey. That ties it up at 93 all. And on that three that he makes, it kind of makes you think that he could probably shoot a few more of those.
Yeah, it didn't look broken or like it's.
No. Bird then makes that kind of nice steal where he kind of does that. I love the highlight they show of him running in the open court
where he's
too.
posting up.
Well, he's like running.
That's my favorite Larry Bird shot of the game. It's just typical, like how I picture Larry.
The little runner, right?
Yeah, where he pump fakes.
Yeah.
Guy runs by and he like double clutches.
But
floater,
I love the shot of him running up the court when they zoom in on him. They're like,
yeah,
it's just
Randy
like,
Moss, hand up, give me the ball.
Yeah, that's how I envision him too. That was like your typical classic Larry Bird play. You're right, Tyler. Like perfect pump fake, perfect form, nothing but net.
Yeah,
socks, baggy socks.
I was like, all right, that's the Larry I like. I've always.
That's the Larry.
Just being smarter.
Yeah,
not smarter, but you
I don't know if any of you guys noticed this, but I was like, it's so weird that the Celtics had like two black players.
I kind of figured
they weren't a fan. I'm not going to get into that one.
Yeah,
no, but I meant compared to Atlanta, like Whitman was like, I think their only white guy.
That's probably true. Yes, that is
true. Who was the Boston?
Reggie Lewis. And they had Parrish. And they had DJ.
Yeah, but DJ had freckles.
Oh, yeah.
I'm joking.
The worst player of the game. The worst player of the game they brought in for the Celtics was named Robert. I was like, who the hell is Robert?
Who is the Bill Walton lookalike on the Celtics?
They had Bill Walton on the sideline.
Yeah, that was.
I know, but he wasn't in uniform. He wasn't in uniform. There was another guy who looked like him who was like in the Warbucks.
Jim Paxson?
No. Well, I'm surprised he hasn't got mentioned until now. He had like curly hair. Like Bill. Was Bill Walton in uniform?
Yeah, no, he wasn't. He was in suit.
Yeah, there was someone who looked.
I don't know.
He was like the MVP of celebrating on the sidelines.
I didn't catch him. I didn't see who he was enough. I had a different bench guy that stood out to me. All right, so so in that sequence there where Bird kind of goes crazy, he scores 9 points in a minute 58. So that's how just no threes. So he's just racking them up in that AM1 there. So he gets off there, and then Parrish makes he gets a nice outlet pass, makes a nice dunk, 97-93. You can really start to feel the crowd. Game 7, 6 minutes left. They're really starting to feel it now. Like, you can kind of almost start to feel the game turn a little bit. And then Wilkins hits another jump shot right on cue. Just another J. He's got 36 points now.
Did you say Q or Q?
Right on cue.
I said Q. I was like, what a current Q. What?
You're gonna have to do some editing on this one, Darren.
At this point right here, too, Bird and Wilkins hit back-to-back shots, I believe 3 consecutive times. So
Yeah.
Wilkins hit the shot, then Bird hits that. Again, just a beautiful lefty going to the middle shot.
That was a Larry Bird shot that I imagined also.
Exactly. And then Wilkins hits a shot on McHale hits a shot on, or Wilkins hits a shot on McHale. And I'm wondering why during this point, I don't know why it took me so long to realize it, but I'm just like, why is McHale on Wilkins? And why are they not going to him every single possession with more space on him? You know what I mean? Just kind of like literally like just give the ball to him at the elbow, even space out, even if you don't want to give it to him at the 3-point line, and just get out of his way. Probably one jab fake and he's going to get fouled.
I mean,
You know
the whole
what I mean?
first half he was dribbling and would do like the fake drive and then hit that Tim Duncan bank shot. And
It's because Doc Rivers turned into his son.
Okay, so McHale, so it's
maybe
100.
that's why I wasn't impressed. I stopped blacking out and remember this part.
So it's 101. Bird again. He has 13 points now in the fourth quarter, and then Wilkins hits that crazy kind of turn around banker with his hook shot.
Crazy
Like
shot.
it just kind of banks it in. Like that's like one of those shots that I kind of always feel like is a 70s or 80s shot. Like people don't practice that type of shot anymore naturally. Like that kind of looked like a natural kind of banker that he's practiced though too. Though to me, it looked like something.
I felt like, oh, those are how you win game 7s. Those lucky shots like this.
See, I felt like it was a shot that was lucky, but I felt like it's maybe one that he practiced as well there too. So
I mean, I don't. Yeah, I can't argue that point.
I don't know. That's what I thought there. So we get to that point there. Rollins picks up his 5th foul. They mentioned that it's kind of a big deal only because he's kind of one of the only guys that can guard McHale somewhat. He's playing with a point. When I did a little research, I guess he got hurt in game 6, so he's playing like pretty injured too in this game. I think it was a hip pointer he had or something like that. So he didn't really score very much as I remember in this game at all.
Free?
Yeah, I didn't see him. So Rivers comes back in the game with about 5 minutes left.
He had one nice lefty hook.
Yeah, he did have that little hook there. McHale makes a nice little shot there to go, or gets fouled, so it's 103-101. Kind of a iffy foul, I thought. Whitman makes a shot on Carr's offensive rebound. He kicks it out. It's 105-105 with about 4 minutes left. Just consistently running pin downs. That's what I have. They're just consistently running pin downs. Bird again scores on just another one. It just feels like it's the same play over and over again at this point. Like right side of the court, Bird's going to come off a little screen. He's going to set one for McHale, like you said, Tyler. Then Parrish is going to come over and set one for him, and then he's just going to curl up and get a shot. And
But how do you guard that?
Why weren't they switching?
You throw it high to Paris and he dunks or lays it in on some.
No, you just switch guys.
Or how do you guard that with?
You just put Wilkins. You just put Wilkins on. You just put Wilkins on Parrish, and you put Willis or whoever's on Bird, I guess, right?
I mean, I guess you could do that, but I imagine back then, put Dominic Wilkins on a 7-footer.
Yeah, I guess if I had to think about it back then, I'd be like, all right, I just want him to get the ball, so Parrish to get the ball, so maybe just figure out how to get it out of his hands. Maybe they'll go to the mismatch if
Parrish is on a bum though. Parrish was way better than I thought he was, and he was at the end of his career too. I was like, man, he impressed me too.
You know who he reminded me of? Is like a short, in his short period. This guy wasn't nearly as good as he was, but for a short period of time, he kind of reminded me of like an Andrew Bynum type, like kind of, I don't know, not like super athletic, but it was kind of long and crafty and had like good touch.
Yeah. I mean, Bynum was bigger, I think, but
Bynum just wasn't very good, very long. That was the only thing with him. But he kind of reminded me of that kind of move like that. And he could dunk sneaky too, Bynum, like Parrish looked like he could too.
All you'd be like, wow, I didn't know you had that in him.
All right, so let's wrap this baby up here. So we're 105, 105 after that Whitman jumper. A ton of pin downs, like I said. They're up 107, 105. Then they finally missed the Hawks. That kind of seemed to change the momentum. That's when then the DJ gets hurt on that play too. When Wilkins drives, he looks like he hits him kind of maybe in the hip or I don't know where it looked like he hit him. The Hawks do steal they make a nice steal on Larry Bird. Doesn't result in the basket though. Rivers puts up a horrible air ball on the next possession. He just kind of dribbles out the clock with about 2:30 left. And yeah,
that's why I was like, that's why I felt like he was played like his son. I was like, you're not the one that's supposed to be shooting this shot.
And then another horrible call. I thought 2 bad calls. McHale goes to the line with 2:20 left. It's 109, 105 after he makes 2 free throws. And then they call timeout and they go to a post-up play to Anthony Carr or to Antoine Carr. I know he's 6 for 7, but are you kidding me? Like Wilkins isn't going to get the ball. Like they go to a Carr fadeaway baseline. I'm like, what? I'm like, I write a massive what? Like, I mean, what are we doing? Like that makes no sense. So did you guys catch that? I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, but I thought they got the rebound and Whitman hit the shot.
That was before that. This was like a little bit more critical part with 2 minutes left. So then
wasn't that the Czar drawing up that call?
Yes, Czar did a terrible job. And then Bird hits that like pretty for that era, probably a pretty cool 3. It felt like a cool 3 where he kind of leans out, big shot. You don't have threes made that often very much anyways back then. So it seemed like it was kind of a momentum kind of killer at that point. Yeah. But it was kind of cool to see him make a shot too, just because that's kind of how I grew up thinking of Larry Bird. Oh, what a great 3-point shooter! It turns out he didn't shoot very many.
He made like 86 was his career high, I think.
Exactly. So they're up, and then Dominique comes back down though and hits another. What I thought was funny, and this is where I think this play gave me the most appreciation about Dominique Wilkins is it's 112-105 after that Larry Bird 3. Okay. I could tell in Wilkins' face, it was like he looked like he was pissed that for some reason he didn't get the shot on that last ball, and he they give him the ball and he just takes kind of a horrible shot, but he like just drives hard to the middle, Kobe-esque, like I'm shooting this ball no matter what type shot, and he makes it. At that point, I'm just like, maybe they don't win the game, but I have a little bit more respect for his competitive, like just his ability, and I can see if he played on like a team like the Celtics, he would have won championships as well. You know what I mean? He never really played on that team that could kind of get him there. So, anyways, he scores. They're keeping the game within distance still. The thing with the Hawks, though, after DJ or the thing with the Hawks, after they make that shot, they get the ball back at 112-107. They're not in any rush at all. They waste the clock all the way down to 50 seconds. Dominique eventually gets fouled. He does make both free throws. It's 112-109 at that point. And then Dirk goes in for that nice layup at the end that you mentioned that Tommy got a little critical of Dominique's defense for being a little fatigued.
Who went in for the layup?
Bird,
you said Dirk.
You said Dirk.
Well, because I wrote down that play reminded me of Dirk against the Heat, where he just kind of curls around. Remember how he's in the post and he just kind of like turns off and lays it. That's what that play kind of reminded me of. So
it's like, man, that's terrible defense.
It wasn't very good. And Dominique was athletic after that happened there. And then we kind of get down to the nitty gritty of the game here. So it gets down to the end here. The Hawks come back and score. They make it a 1-point game. Celtics do a deep baseball pass. Ainge makes the layup. It does get a little kind of iffy there for a second because nowadays that would have been like totally made a huge deal about that like goaltending call.
Well, you know why they called it goaltending, which I didn't understand, but till I got it, is you couldn't slap the backboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't know that either, but and still that's a horrible rule. But
No, you shouldn't be able to hit the hoop while it's still on.
Don't they do that now?
The backboard. You couldn't hit
Yeah,
the backboard.
If LeBron just ran and whacked the backboard, you don't think it'd move? Like,
Okay, so I got one
move.
more point to bring up before we end this game here. So they get to the point here. They're up by 2 points. They foul DJ. He makes the first. He misses the second. He misses the first. They make the second. He's bringing up the ball. Dominique up the court, and he gets fouled with about a second left. Right, a little bit past half court. So smart foul, obviously. But do you think that was a flagrant foul if they reviewed that now, like by Ainge? I'm curious. Like that's like.
Not in game 7.
Yeah, not game 7. Maybe a regular season game, but even then, that's
Didn't it seem a little rougher though than normal? Like for nowadays, like isn't that kind of sad though that now that I'm thinking that
it would go to replay?
I don't know what
that might be a flagrant foul. That's what I'm like. Isn't that kind of like worrisome? Like they're not even thinking about that in that game. Like there's no mention of it. Like no mention. I could definitely see my little boy Jeff Van Gundy saying, "Well, I might want to look at replay there. That's a little rough." You know what I mean? I could see him like saying something like that, or I don't know.
Well, the thing now, players they wouldn't even get to that situation because like Dominique looked like he literally was just like, I have to get exactly to the 3-point line to shoot it.
Yeah,
like,
no, for sure.
I don't even think he would have got the shot off if he didn't get fouled.
Yeah, I think you're right. So then they make the foul. He makes the first free throw, misses the second one, obviously. They end up losing 118-116. Game over. Celtics go. I thought a good game. You know what I mean? It was an entertaining game.
The fourth quarter was very good.
Before I get into the questions about too much, just when the game was over, just quick little thought, like kind of like, oh, this decent game you picked, or not as, what was your just kind of quick thought before I kind of asked you some more questions I had for you guys about the game? Just kind of like, anything? No? Yes, maybe so.
Go ahead, Casey.
I liked it. I thought the first
Pretty surprised by that.
No, the first 15 minutes, I was like, I don't think I've ever seen anyone actually play a game in here. Like a full game that I've ever watched.
That's funny.
Which I was like, that's kind of cool to watch. And then I see, like, it's kind of funny now, like, watching back on it, like, a lot of the guys are coaches.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool to see. Because that means they obviously were pretty smart, intelligent basketball players, or they, had a mind for the game. Or like,
they didn't get paid as much back then either, so they were still trying to make some money.
No, I just thought it was kind of cool. Like Larry Bird coached the Pacers, Whitman coached the Wizards, Rivers is coaching the Celtics. So I was like, that's kind of cool. Like and then Danny Ainge is doing the GM for the Celtics.
He coached too.
Yeah, I just meant there's a lot of smart, brilliant players on there. Like even Kevin McHale coached for the Rockets. Like I thought that was kind of cool. Like there's a lot of smart guys that came from those teams.
Kevin McHale went on to coach some WNBA.
He did. I forgot about that. All right, let me get set up here again. I had to charge my phone here.
Not another fighter.
Huh?
Toby.
Another spider.
Toby McGuire. All right, let me give you. This is what I had for you guys on this one right here. So what I like this question. I'm gonna probably do it every podcast. What's aged the best? Watching the game. What's aged the best?
Definitely not Brent Musburger.
That's actually pretty good.
Remember when he talked about that girl at the Alabama game?
That was not that big a deal, I thought.
He's a 70-year-old man.
But it was a little creepy, but at least he didn't write her a love letter. So
he basically did.
I guess a little creepy. So
let's
he said this is why McElroy's a good player. Look at this woman he's dating. He has confidence.
All right, so what's age the best, fellas? Casey?
What age the best?
Yeah, what'd you think with watching the game? What do you think's kind of stood the test of time, I guess? Or what do you think's kind of looking back?
I don't think anything really stood the test of time, as far as how the game still played, if that's what you're asking.
Okay,
I think Larry Bird obviously is better. Maybe NBA circles they recognize him accurately, but I didn't recognize him accurately before I watched this full game.
I think
he's way better than I thought he was.
Yeah.
And this is at the end of his career when he wasn't even.
There's one game I'm gonna want us to like rewatch, and it's probably the 1984 game, 4 game at some point. It's just like a really good game. It's like in its prime. For me, Case, I'll let you get to the next one. For me, the things that aged the best were 2 things. The crowd was awesome. I thought that was really cool to see again. I thought Dominique's jumper, I thought it was really cool to see him. I didn't really appreciate him enough. I never really watched him. So just watching him and just like kind of getting a feel for him, I'm like, okay, he was a good player.
I agree with that.
And then the other thing I enjoyed, I know there was maybe a touch of it, but you can't even say it was in the same atmosphere of how it is today. And I appreciate this greatly. There was no players trying to get cheap fouls for the most part out there. Like there was no like running into people or stopping to have people run into you. Or,
yeah.
Like there was something
But
that I like.
I feel like that's smart, almost smart now. Like there's certain aspects.
But it might be smart, but it's not as it's not as enjoyable when they're doing it on purpose. Like you know what I mean? Like there's certain plays you have to admit that does not happen.
What do you mean it doesn't happen?
Well, like the ones where like Chris Paul will stop and the guy runs into you because he's just running up the court or something like that. Like that to me is like they're unnecessary or something like that. It's just I don't know.
I agree it's unnecessary, but I agree the guy should be more aware of his surroundings and know that this could happen.
I enjoyed not watching it. Let's just put it that way.
I agree with that too. But if I'm a player and I can get a guy his 5th foul with 10 minutes left in the 4th quarter.
That's true. Casey, what's age the best for you?
I took this maybe in a different context, but I thought age the best was like what's got better from that era to now.
Yeah.
To me is easily the camera. Like God, there's the grainiest video I've ever seen.
That's going to go into the next one. That would be what's aged the worst. The camera's got worse.
No, it's got better.
Oh, you mean now?
Yeah,
but
like
what
that's
from
why I
this
took
game?
That's why I took that context question a little different because you said what's age the best.
Yeah. So what do you like about that game
compared to now?
Yeah. So you probably don't like the video better.
Well, there was no HD back then, so I prefer now. But
that's true.
I want to
answer my. I miss like
the way you said it was confusing, but to me, just mainly overall is the I like how they don't actually look over to the coach. Like, I feel like now there's like 20 possessions of the game where it's like, all right, we're running this play. Now it's like, and back then it was like, I'm the coach on the floor. Larry's just like, fuck you guys. We're going to do a triple post up. I'm going to get the ball. I don't care what you call, but I'm getting the ball.
Tyler, you said you had another one?
But like Derek said earlier, Dominique didn't get the ball in that one.
But Larry was the
well, Larry's Larry. But
yeah.
What?
So think of this question.
I thought was the best part.
I was gonna say, think of this question like a bottle of wine. Like, what's aged best? Like, what? So, for what's aged the worst, I have lack of.
Hold on, I didn't get the answer. I said sorry.
Oh, let me hear you. Sorry, I cut you off.
Mine is how it felt like the lines were drawn, where it's a team versus a team. There's no friendships or like.
There's like a culture behind this team too.
It was like the uniform meant more than what happened.
I didn't mention that, Tyler, to feed your point, but you're right. Like the teams were more organic. Like they were together for a while. Like even that Hawks team, that team had lost 2 years in a row in the playoffs. Did you know in 1986 they were the number 2 seed, the Hawks? That's how good they were. And then the next year they were the 4 seed, and then this year they lost. They were the 4 seed, but we watched. They were a good team, and so and so you can see.
And the way teams stuck together is how it
exactly
is the best for me. How they got to play together for a long time.
Yeah, you can see that for sure. So, okay, so for what age the worst, what I think kind of got worse from watching this is realizing Mike Fratello, he's not very good at coaching. Get the ball to Wilkins and get McHale there and just get out of the way. Just watching some of that stuff, I'm like, you're really running screens, So I don't know. I thought that aged the worst.
Yeah.
Casey, Tyler.
Casey, go ahead.
What aged the worst? I don't know. I felt like watching that, I was like Mike Fratello ran the same offense he did for the Grizzlies.
Did he coach the Grizzlies?
Yeah.
I
He's
thought it
always
was like the same play.
I think he
Like, it's
coached
weird.
before Hubie or after Hubie.
It was
his
weird
Hawks
though.
team was definitely a lot better.
I thought the Hawks were a better team. Honestly, they just didn't have. They just weren't.
No.
They didn't
I
seem as
thought I thought they were more talented at that stage, but Boston was. They were just smarter. They'd been through the ringer. It's like it's hard to beat a champion, man. They're smart. They like what Darren was saying. They didn't go the Neek. What they do every single time with the Bird or McHale, or they went to their 3 veteran players every single time.
Hey, so my next one is
What age the worst? I'm gonna go with one of my dad's answers,
what's
or what
that?
he always mentions to me. Why the hell did the Warriors trade Robert Parrish?
And Kevin McHale.
They didn't have Kevin McHale. No, they didn't.
Yes, they
Did
did.
they?
Yes.
Why does my dad never mention that? He only mentioned Robert Parrish.
I don't know, but I just know he got traded from the Warriors. If you look it up, that's who he got traded from.
And they
He
had Kevin Willis later.
never
in his
played
career.
for him. Huh?
And they had Kevin Willis later in his years.
That's true.
And they drafted him, traded him right away.
I think so.
Well, those are more forgivable than I feel like.
Yeah, that's a little bit true.
Like
We'll
we had
just have-
Kobe, or we had Vince Carter. Like I don't really count that as us having Vince Carter.
One day we'll have to do the Warriors. Just
Okay,
all
this is how.
games.
Okay, Tyler, this is the trade.
No,
Sorry.
but okay.
The 1980 Celtics traded their first overall. They traded their first overall pick for Robert Parrish. So the Warriors drafted Robert Parrish.
Yeah, they drafted some big guy who was some bum.
In exchange, the Warriors got Joe Barry Carroll and Ricky
Yeah, that's
Bryant.
the guy.
Boston eventually used their first round pick that the Warriors gave them and took Kevin McHale.
Okay, so
basically-
they didn't trade Kevin McHale.
No,
They could have
they
drafted
took
Kevin McHale with that first round overall. If they were,
and have Parrish. So yeah, so technically they kind of did help the Celtics get Parrish
well, they helped the
definitely
Celtics
did.
get Harris for sure.
and McHale.
Well, they could have drafted McHale with the first
Well, they
overall.
got their third overall pick
Well, we had the first.
the next year.
Oh, the next year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, it turned
Oh,
out
God.
that the 80 draft is when they traded Parrish. 81's when they took McHale with that pick.
Right. But my dad's always like, why did we trade McHale for Joe Barry Carroll?
Tell him now. You can tell him about McHale too. Let's see what he says. Hey Casey,
Yeah.
who does Larry Bird remind you of? Anybody? I said Dirk. And not because he's white, just his kind of moves.
Yeah, but Dirk was really crappy in the playoffs.
Well, I just mean
No, what?
he's
Look
not.
him up,
Dirk
Tyler.
was crappy in the playoffs?
Not good.
Did
Not
you watch
good.
him against the Heat?
Okay, hold on.
Look-
Before we get on a Dirk tangent, let's stay on this. Hold on. What do you guys think about Kawhi? He kind of reminded me a little bit of Kawhi too,
Who?
with his offensive game. Larry's
Kawhi reminded me of Jordan more than anybody.
a little bit more. So nobody for Larry.
Larry doesn't remind me of anybody. The Jokic comparison is nothing. They're nothing alike, other than they're white and 6'8".
All right, you guys kind of mentioned this, but what was kind of it like going back and watching like old Celtics game kind of like because you probably
Doncic, not Jokic. Doncic, sorry.
because you probably hadn't watched one either in a while or maybe ever. My guess is.
Yeah.
Have either of you ever watched a full Celtics game?
No, that was my first Larry Bird.
Casey, have you ever watched a full Celtics game?
I'm Irish and white, of course. Yes.
You have? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen probably more than enough, but Tyler, let me ask you then, what did you think watching that older version?
I think like I said before, I underappreciated that whole Paris. I remember him on the Bulls being the 12th guy who looked like an Indian, kind of like a chief, which was his nickname, ironically.
He was a lot better than I thought.
Yeah, the whole McHale I felt like was way better than I thought.
I'll even
And
have to.
Bird was even way better. I mean, McHale and I feel like Bird get their due
How about Danny
About
Ainge? He was
Danny
actually
Circle?
okay too, I thought.
He was good. He was okay. He was,
Age, you don't like Age.
I hate Danny Ainge.
Larry Bird reminded me of Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan. That's the best
I
way I
don't
can
see that one
describe
for some reason. I don't see
Just
Like
that
their
one.
mentality towards the game, I
it. Their
agree.
clutchness, their big steals, like
Yeah.
they just were so much smarter than everybody.
Yeah, I kind of see Magic a little bit more like Larry, just because of their eras. They're so much similar in that way.
No, but Magic and Larry are complete opposites.
Yeah, that's what I.
Well, the way
feel
they
like.
played though was the same.
You
though.
didn't see Magic or Larry smiling or like.
No, I said the way they're played though, like the way like.
Oh
they're
yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah.
What surprised you about watching Dominique Wilkins?
Another guy
Yeah.
underappreciated.
Casey?
I didn't know he could shoot.
Yeah, Tyler.
I thought he was a slasher guy who could dunk. I knew he scored like 25 a game a couple years, but I didn't know he was as
I didn't
I didn't know he had touch and like real game. I thought he was just like this guy who was overly athletic for that era who dominated.
He was actually like really good. He was like so under control. The only thing I realized he never went left. So I'm guessing that wasn't one of his moves very much. He didn't really go left very much. He always tried to go to his right. He did have an underrated. I didn't mention the game. An underrated dunk attempt that gets blocked, but he does get the putback. Kind of a cheap one in the last 30 seconds or something like that. But he does go for a nice little attempt dunk there.
I got to pee.
Are you gonna sit down?
Hey, so Case,
Yeah.
what did you think of the game? Because I'm curious. Like I said, part of the reason I chose the game was because I figured you guys haven't watched too many 80s games or stuff like this. And like I said, I've seen this game a lot. So I'm actually really curious as somebody that, obviously really likes basketball and like kind of watches the little stuff. Like, what did you think? Like, did you kind of appreciate it more? Were you bored a little bit? Anything. What did you think? Because you don't know the players all that well, so you're learning a little bit too.
In the second quarter, I almost fell asleep. The first quarter, I was like, "Oh, this is good," because I never heard of. Like, I heard.
Why? But the pace was so good.
No, I just meant like the shot making was really bad in the second quarter.
Not as
Like,
good.
I shouldn't say really bad, but like I thought it was really cool because it was really even. Like the first quarter is 30-28 Celtics or Hawks, then 28-31 Boston, 24-25 Boston, 34-34. So it was like pretty much like, there was not like the biggest lead at the end of the quarter was 3.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I just felt like sometimes when I was watching it, I was like a little bored, but the first quarter and the fourth quarter are by far the best quarters, no doubt.
See, that's surprising. See, I'm just kind of fascinated by the whole thing, the game itself. Like, I thought it was pretty up-tempo game for the most part there. What do you?
I do like my favorite part of the game was when I think there was 6 possessions in a row and no one scored, and then finally I think Robert Parrish got fouled on an AM1 or something like that.
Yeah, that was a cool play right there for sure.
Kevin Willis got blocked by McHale, and they're like, "What a block!" And I was like, "He didn't even get above the rim."
Tyler, I was asking Casey this question. I'll ask it to you. What's it like for you watching like an older game? Like kind of like a game that you said you hadn't watched before. Like, what do you like? Are you like when you're watching it, or does it take you a little while to get used to it?
It kind like this is gonna sound really disrespectful to that era of basketball, but it's not disrespectful. It reminds me of watching like 10-year-olds and like 8-year-olds play basketball. How condensed it is because they're not strong enough to shoot from.
Isn't it crazy?
So like the spacing is very. Obviously, it's way better in talent and like.
It's just crazy to think how much the game has changed in 32 years, basically.
Yeah.
All right, last question about the game. I'll ask the same one I did last time, and if you guys got anything, you can throw it out there. After watching this game, did anything change your opinion that you didn't have going into it? Maybe you've already mentioned it, or maybe you haven't yet. Is there anything that really changed your opinion, like kind of watching this game? I'll start, I guess. The things for me that I kind of didn't really appreciate enough was how smart the Celtics teams were. Like, they were really good team. Like, they were just so because every decision they made was like intelligent. And it was fun to watch them. I just enjoyed their competitiveness and stuff like that, and I enjoyed like their teamwork and I even enjoyed the way the Hawks played too. I mean, they just were competitiveness, and it kind of for me it was like, all right, these guys also could play back then too, for sure. So that's what I thought. It kind of changed my opinion a little bit more respect for that era.
I agree basically with the players back then. I always kind of underestimated.
Yeah.
And watching the full game makes me realize, like Larry Bird was. I mean,
He seems to be the guy that you didn't realize because you.
I mean, I always knew he was good. I've heard the story. Oh, he's top 5 NBA player. Him and Magic were like the 2 best before I was born.
Yeah, I think that was cool to watch him again. And then Casey, you mentioned McHale. He was good to watch.
I thought he was like a below, like to me.
But you hear him on TV, you're like, just shut up and get the ball, James.
No, without the athleticism, I thought he was like a better Kevin Garnett. Like I'm like, man, he's just like way quicker.
He actually might be better than Kevin Garnett.
No,
yeah,
but I mean,
he is better than Garnett.
not above the rim,
so.
but like below the rim, he was like as quick as he was. Like,
oh, easily, yeah, and way better.
Garnett had one post move that like right shoulder fade.
Yeah,
but
McHale,
I meant like athletic wise, like McHale. Obviously, that's towards the end.
Defensively, no.
Yeah, defensively, Garnett would have owned that era. Like,
I mean, Wilkins would be. Yeah, that'd be a different matchup on McHale there.
I feel like Garnett would have got like 3 fouls, like in the first quarter, guarding McHale.
Garnett had a high IQ too. I don't think he's like
towards his later years, yeah.
But yeah. McHale is a beat. Offensively, McHale is like one of the best post players when it comes to moves and like.
That's what I mean. Though, it's like, but it was like so fundamentally sound. It's like
him and Akeem, I think would get like.
I just thought they were a lot more patient. Patient.
Casey, this is why I like doing this podcast with you guys because like we've been doing this for like now like an hour and a half. We can talk about a game that like it was a great game and like so that's why I appreciate about doing this with you guys though in all honesty. So
yeah, it's like I feel like we've talked about this game longer than.
I don't know, but I like that about doing that with you guys, and I feel like that about that stuff. So, you guys
I got a bunch of girls online right now trying to get a hold of me, but I said I got to do this podcast.
Let's not get this way. You guys up for the draft?
Social distancing. Take it easy, buddy.
You up for the draft?
Yeah, I'm up for.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, I waited for Tyler for 45 minutes. I waited for you for 20, so let's bring it on.
Let's do it.
Darren pushed it back first 10.
Hey, I think what I'm gonna do, guys, I'm gonna stop the recording right now and then just record the draft separately here. Okay, so I'll send you a little.
Sign out and get back in.
Is that okay?
Do we have to get out and get back in?
It's all right.
I mean, we can do that. That's fine.
No, we can just do it. That's fine. All right, so.
No, we can. What? No, we can do that. It's easier for editing. I'm down.
All right, so let me just do that real quick. All right, sounds good.
Horse.